Hello everyone and welcome to this, my first of 3 videos on the Canon EOS 20D, a long-in-the-tooth DSLR by today's standards as of this video's recording in mid-2024, and I'm sure that this camera's age is not going to decrease as it gets older. The Canon EOS 20D is an interchangeable lens APS-C 8.25 megapixel digital SLR camera. Let's take apart what all of that means. Interchangeable lens means that the lenses on the camera can be taken off and a different one can be put on at any time when you're not taking a photo without affecting your images. Digital single lens reflex camera means that the single lens on the camera passes light through it to this mirror, which then bounces up to this prism inside of the housing here and out to the viewfinder so that you can see what the camera is going to take a photo of. APS-C, don't ever do what I'm doing here, is the size of the sensor which is inside of the camera. And you can see there the shutter curtains, which are behind the mirror, and they're a little bit bigger than the sensor. APS-C sensors have a 1.6x crop factor, so your 50mm lens would function like an 80mm lens in full frame terms. And 8.25 megapixels is the image size. This camera also uses a CMOS sensor. The metering modes on this are through the lens, which is called TTL, metering with evaluative, which evaluative metering takes this entire scene here and would say, here's midtones, here's dark tones, here's some bright highlights. What settings do I need for shutter speed and aperture to give the photographer the best possible exposure that I can give him or her? And that's what evaluative does. 9% partial, which is an area 9% of the frame in the very center of the image, is 100% of the metering information. And center weighted is the third mode, where there's an area in the center of the frame that's a bit bigger than partial that gives you the majority of your metering information rather, and then the minority of the metering information comes from everywhere else. That's very good for, say, center composed photos. In the second video, when we talk about metering, we'll talk about that in a little bit more depth, and I'll give you some examples of how they work. The shutter speeds are 30 seconds on the slow end to 1/8,000th of a second on the fast end with bulb, and also a 3 frame per second burst speed that will last for up to 6 RAW files. On the back of the camera, we can see the viewfinder here, and the magnification is 0.88x with a 95% frame coverage. What does that mean? 88x or 0.88x magnification means that the viewfinder reduces the image size that's coming through the lens by, well, down to 88% of the size of what's coming through the lens. 95% frame coverage means that if you imagine that what you're seeing right now is what will be on your camera's sensor, then you lose about 2.5% on each side as well as the top and the bottom in your viewfinder, but it will still be recorded as an image. Those specs combine to tell us that this camera was intended to be used for autofocus. 88% magnification is very low, especially for an APS-C sized sensor for manual focus use. ISO range on this camera is 100 to 3200 as well as an auto mode. The flash sync speed is 1/250th of a second, and this camera is good for stills only. It cannot record video. The target user for the Canon EOS 20D was the mid-range user. At the release for this camera, it was tiered between the 1D Mark II and the 350D. The 350D was the entry-level camera for Canon. This has excellent build quality. It is really remarkably well made. It still has a lot of the silly modes like these scene modes over here that the entry-level cameras came with, but that these modes really don't exist on the professional cameras because professionals don't use them. It was made by Canon in Japan from 2004 until 2005. If you have your Canon EOS 20D, we're going to go over what everything on the camera is. In the second video, we'll talk about how to use everything for your photography with the exception of the menu button, which we will cover at length in the third video. Starting on the top over here and the side over here, these are your strap bars, and this is where you connect your camera strap. This is your mode dial. This is where you're going to select your shooting mode when you go to take a photo. There's a little index right here that tells you which mode you've selected, and then there's a symbol right here behind the pop-up flash. This is your your sensor plane indicator. If you're doing things like high magnification microscopy and you need to calculate precise exposures and also magnification rates from your subject to your sensor, this is what you measure off of. This is your pop-up flash hot shoe. This right here on the side of your viewfinder is your diopter adjuster. And the diopter on this is -3 to +1. With the diopter adjuster, what you would do for this is you would take something like a pencil that has a very precise tip, put it in a binder clip so that it doesn't move, put the camera in a tripod, and use manual focus in your viewfinder to get focus on the tip of the pencil. Take a picture. Compare what you saw in your viewfinder to the photo that you took. And if they're not accurate, adjust the diopter. And just keep doing that until you've gotten the tip of the pencil in focus in both the optical viewfinder and in the photo that you take. This is the LCD information screen that we'll see extensively in the second video. A couple of informational markings for your asterisk and your autofocus buttons that are on the back. This is your LCD illumination button. And if I turn the camera on, here we go. If you look at the LCD, when I push that button, it should turn, I don't know if you can tell or not, it should turn into a nice, pleasing orange color so that it's easier to see the LCD in dark settings. Let's try that again now that the camera is actually working correctly. There you go. You can see the orange color of the LCD illumination. There we go. Yeah, so pleasant enough. These are your 3 control buttons. This button controls your autofocus mode and white balance setting, your drive mode and your ISO setting, and your metering mode and your flash exposure compensation setting. And I'll show you how to use these in video 2, as well as explain what all the different settings are. Front command wheel, shutter release button. The front of the camera has a number of different things on it. Here we have your autofocus assist and also your self-timer countdown light. There's a little plug right here you can pull off the side of the camera. Oops, that's some old rubber because that just like broke under my fingers. Anyway, if you open up there we go, battery chamber. Would help if wow, that just broke right off in my fingers. Okay, so there's this rubber plug here, and what that does is if you have the AC adapter, then that flips out, and then the cable for the AC adapter goes right in there. So yeah, that was unexpected. Anyway, we're just going to plug that back in and pretend that didn't happen. Okay, this is your lens mount right here where the lenses go. This is your EF index, mounting index, and this is your EFS mounting index. So I think this was the first mid-tier Canon camera, digital camera that could take EFS mount lenses. Lens locking pin, lens release button, depth of field preview button right here. Basically, when you push this down, the aperture will close and you can see what your depth of field will be when you look through your viewfinder. Flash pop-up button right here. So you can push this, push that, and the flash will pop up just like that. On this side of the camera, we have a rubber cover that covers a bunch of ports. Realistically, only 2 of these are going to be important, but we'll cover all 4 of them. Down here on the bottom, we have the flash PC port and the remote control port. This is a proprietary Canon remote control, but your Prontor COM port will trigger any flash if you have a PC cable that will plug into it. This is not PC as in it connects to your camera. It's for triggering flashes that are not mounted onto your camera. So that's what that is for. Underneath this side of this rubber cap, we have your digital port and your video out. What are these? Digital is a mini USB port that's probably USB 1, shouldn't be USB 2, not in 2004. Maybe it was. Anyway, it's old and it's slow. It's 20 years old as of this video's recording. Your data transfer rates from it aren't going to be great. It is only for connecting your camera to your computer to transfer files. So realistically, you'll be much happier if you just pull your CF card out of your camera and plug it into a CF card reader. And just like that, the rubber cover, this thing broke. Wow, the rubber has not aged well on this camera. Because as you can see, that was not torn when I pulled this back, and now it is tearing. Holy cow. Okay, that's your video out. You might notice that's not an HDMI port. That is an analog video out for analog TVs. Uses a 2.5mm analog jack. The yellow ones, if you're familiar with those. So those 2 ports really are not going to do a whole lot for you, and I definitely don't recommend using them for anything, especially with as hard as it's turning out to be to get this to plug back in, and how much damage I just did to the rubber covering on this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is, you know what, we're just gonna, whatever, it broke off. Okay, on this side of the camera, ignore the tape. We'll talk about that when we change the battery in the second video. But right here is the CF card port, which you just push that back and open it, and you can access the CF card here. We'll talk about CF cards in the second video as well. On the back of the camera, we have a whole bunch of stuff. This is where most of your controls are done. This is your optical viewfinder. This is not an LCD screen, so when you look through this, you're seeing what the lens is going to project onto the sensor. Menu button, info button. Jump, playback, and delete buttons have to do with playback of images, okay? LCD screen, main power switch, and also rear wheel control. You'll notice when I turn the camera on, it is asking for a date. There is a button cell battery inside of here that is, we'll see that in the second video, that is missing from this camera, but you can replace that button cell battery. I'll show you how to do that so that the date can be remembered from power cycle to power cycle. Rear command wheel, set button, control cross pad type thing up here, asterisk button, and in playback mode, your zoom out button, autofocus selector button, and in playback mode, your zoom in button. The bottom of the camera has a few things of note. This is the battery chamber over here. This is the serial number, the catalog number, registration and production info, also your tripod socket right here. And I do have some things not to do with this camera. Don't be too rough with the rubber coverings. We're gonna start right there. Now, do not touch the shutter or the mirror or the sensor that are behind this lens because your finger oils can mess each of them up in different ways. Your mirror can be tarnished and that can throw off your autofocus and your metering. Your shutter can get gummy, can get sticky from your finger oils, or the leaves on that shutter can jump tracks and jam and ruin the shutter. And your sensor, if it gets a fingerprint on it, that's super, super hard to remove. Don't leave your camera or lenses in your car. They're always going to be theft targets. Also, extreme heat can cause lubricating oils like in the lenses to get onto the aperture leaves, which can impair the aperture leaves' ability to operate, or also extreme heat can damage the plastic components of the cameras. Extreme cold can cause those same lubricating oils to break down. They can become thick and gummy and they don't work properly. And also extreme cold can be very damaging to plastic parts of cameras. Don't let your EOS 20D get wet. Water and electronics don't get along. And lastly, just remember that your Canon EOS D is a precision tool that should be handled with care and respect. And as long as you take care of your camera will take care of you. And with that, we've covered everything in the first video. So here's a card to take you to the second video or the third video so that you can learn how to do all of the stuff your camera can do, or jump straight into the menu configuration if that's what you're looking for. See you guys over there.